Hey folks, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, as longtime viewers of the Dungeon Dive will know, I love cardboard minis, especially really high quality ones. I think they are great. I love cardboard standees, and I prefer those over plastic miniatures for a few reasons. Recently, I was browsing on Amazon, and I found this set here from Wanderer's Emporium. And this is the DM Starter Pack, 183 cardboard miniatures and 35 bases. And so I decided to order this to take a look at it, to offer up some information to some of you to see if you might like this. And in doing so, I decided to pull out some of my cardboard minis just so we could do a quick video on them. Now, the reason I prefer cardboard minis or cardboard standees, one is I try to limit how much plastic I am responsible for in the world. And by that I mean, since I don't get a lot of value out of cardboard, out of plastic minis, I try to avoid them when I can. If you get a lot of value out of plastic minis, then that's great. I think you are being responsible for that plastic because you find enjoyment in the modeling aspect or the painting aspect. And I don't find any value in that part of this hobby. And so that's why I try to avoid plastic minis when I can for that kind of plastic responsibility aspect. I also really enjoy the kind of hand-drawn 2D art on a good cardboard mini. And I also like that they come just ready to use. They're already colorful. I can very quickly get things set up because with the Dungeon Dive, I just don't have a lot of time to devote to the modeling aspect of this hobby. I just barely have enough time doing the Dungeon Dive to get games, to learn games, and to produce these episodes for you all. So something has to be kind of left off of the hobby. And for me, it was a pretty easy decision to leave off the whole modeling aspect. And so I just greatly prefer cardboard standees. So let's start by taking a look at the Wanderer's Emporium set that I got on Amazon. Then we'll kind of take a look at some of the Pathfinder pawns, which are pretty great. And then we'll also take a real quick look again at the cardboard minis that you get for League of Dungeoneers. And we'll also talk about some of the storage solutions, some of the storage problems, and also take a look at the stands that the cardboard minis go into, because I greatly prefer a couple of styles over other styles. Okay, yeah, so Wanderer's Emporium, I saw this on Amazon and I thought it was pretty cool, and I decided to kind of take the dive into this set to show you all what you get, to see if maybe you might want to purchase them. They weren't very expensive. I think this whole set for 183 was around $50. Now, one thing about cardboard standees is they're always just a little bit more expensive than I would imagine, but you do get a lot and they're pretty easy to store. So here on the back of the box, you can see everything you get. So these are the hard pressed cardboard, and I like those. They're very sturdy. The art is vibrant. They are cut out in shapes, which is nice. And these all have a front and back. The Pathfinder pawns, they don't have front and back art. So if facing is important to the game that you are playing, you might have to do something, either put a little dot on the holder, or maybe put a little dot on the actual cardboard standee itself. And that is something I do. And here's everything you get. So there are different packs. We have the Ruthless pack, the Frontier pack, Class pack, Sinister Race, and Essentials pack. And this set here combines all of those sets. So you can buy the individual sets if you want, but I decided to just get everything. So let's go ahead and open this up. I do wish that this box had a lifting lid, because it would be easier to store them, but I don't think this box is going to be very useful to store these after we punch them out. But here are all the standees, and let's punch a few out and take a look at them. So yeah, very high quality. They don't really bend at all. This hard pressed cardboard I like a lot. I do like the art. It's a little cartoony, so I could see that turning some people off. If you don't want something really cartoony, you may want to look more at the Pathfinder pawns. Those have a little bit more of that kind of modern, traditional RPG art. But having the front and back art, that is great. That is super cool. Now, I'm not sure exactly who the artist was. Hopefully no AI was used. I didn't see anything about that on the Amazon description. So I can't say for certain if these are 100% hand-drawn or human-made, I should say. Maybe not hand-drawn, but maybe done digitally. But I think the art looks good, and to me, it doesn't appear to be AI. I think the color is good. The shapes are nice because when they're on the table, you can kind of, if you have a little thing sticking up, maybe that guy has a sword and you can quickly tell. Here we have some lizard dudes. I do wish that maybe on the sheets themselves, they said what set each one came from. So I'm not sure which individual sets that these are from. Now let's quickly jump over to, before we look at more of these, let's jump over to the different types of standee holders. So this set here comes with these kinds of holders, these clip holders, and I really don't like these kinds of holders for a number of reasons. One, I find that these clips often damage the cardboard, and I also find that they're just, the tabs that you stick the minis into are so high that they can obscure the smaller minis like dwarves or halflings. If you have this little halfling here and you stick that halfling in, it goes all the way up past their feet. And I mean, it's clear, so it's not that bad. But these are not my preferred way to hold standees. You can get these Pathfinder pawn bases, and I like these a little bit more just because they're a little shallower, but not completely as shallow as I would like. And I find that they don't damage the cardboard as much as those clear plastic clips. The ones I really prefer, that I really like, and I have a whole bunch, I have two different types in here. One I got on Etsy, and if you just look for standee holders, you can find stores that sell these 3D printed standee holders. And these are actually modeled after the ones found in Legends of Andor, which Legends of Andor comes with some great cardboard minis to use. And I love the standee holders in that, so I was looking for these and I found them on Etsy. And what I really like about them is they are very gentle in the way that they hold the mini. You can kind of easily pry them open and just slide the mini in. There aren't any ridges inside to hold them, so it's just the force of the clamp. And I really like these. And the thing I like about these is that you can get them in different colors. So we have red, blue, green. I think we have some gray ones and maybe even some black ones somewhere in here, but there are a few different colors. And what I like about using the different colors is, sometimes it is a little hard to tell if you're playing kind of a skirmish game, whose warband is who or who are the enemies. And so you can put all of your heroes in the gray, and you can put all of your normal minions, the bad guys you're fighting, in the red, and then maybe use green and blue for generals or for lieutenants or something like that. So it's just a really easy way to keep track of what's going on. Now, the ones I really love, and these are harder to source, are these clips here. And these are actually from Roger Deering, and he used these in Dungeon Crusade, and I'm not sure where he sourced these from. If you guys know where to source this style from, please let me know. I reached out to Roger, and he actually sent me an extra baggie full of extra little standee holders that he had. But I really enjoy these. They're small, they don't obscure the mini much at all, and they are color-coded again, so you can keep track of things. We have black ones, I have some clear ones that I use for my heroes. We have green and blue and yellow. So very easy to add some visual recognition to your war bands if you're playing kind of, a game of 5 Leagues from the Borderlands or Forbidden Psalm or something like that. But I like these more than these. I find these styles here are a little more gentle on the cardboard. And I like being able to color code my different warbands and factions. So that's the Standee holder talk. So we took a look at that. Here are some beasts here. So here's a big dragon. Again, even the big ones are really sturdy. This hard-pressed cardboard is great. And I think that's some pretty cool art. That's an interesting dragon. Yeah, I like that. We have a bear, an owlbear, a griffin, some kind of troll, some kind of dire wolf. We have, looks like some kind of beast man and these little tiny fairies. Those are pretty cool. A fawn. There's a beast man. Very cool. I like those quite a bit. And let's see what we have here. Some more monsters, some kind of like lich thing, some spirits, ghost, some kind of ghoul or something, some skeletons. Those skeletons are very cool, especially skeleton archers. I love skeleton warriors. That zombie is awesome with his guts hanging out. His pants are kind of sagging. That's great. Yeah, I think the art on these is really expressive, and so I do enjoy it. Here's a few more kind of big monsters here. A red dragon, some kind of golem, some kind of a worm creature there. And here we have a gelatinous cube. Some like dark elf warriors or something, some mimics, some little kobolds there. Oh, that guy's cool. And tiny little like, I don't know, demon honey badgers or something. That troll looking guy there is pretty neat. And here we have some more monsters here. So we've got, those fungi are really cool. Some more trolls, more fungi, some more wolves there. And here we have some heroes. So we have, looks like, you have your paladin, kind of your assassin, thief style characters, your dwarves there, a warrior, your warlocks and wizards, another dwarf, some spiders there, and then we have a little bit of scatter terrain. So we have like a stack of weapons, a cool looking door, some barrels, and a treasure chest and a bonfire. So yeah, these are pretty cool. I am glad I got these, and I think if you like cardboard minis, you might like these a lot. Now you could always keep them punched in or keep the sheets to put them back. Of course, you always kind of have to do a little hunt here to find where it actually fits. And let's see if I can do that on camera here. That guy goes there, that guy goes there. And then we have our sword guy there, our paladin there, our little halfling there, and our old dude here. So yeah, so you could just keep them like this and then slide them back in. I did have an issue getting the plastic clips back in this box. They were in there pretty tightly. But yeah, so these are pretty cool. I'm glad I got them. I think I will find these useful for at least something. Okay, now let's take a look at the Pathfinder pawns. So yes, like I said, you can get these Pathfinder pawn bases, and they're a little clunky. They do come with a few different, or a few red bases, so you can use those to distinguish, your generals or your lieutenants or your mini bosses or something like that. So I did get a set of these. Now I have a whole bunch of sets of these, and I've gone through the sets and pulled out the ones I enjoy. Unfortunately, I don't remember the names of the sets that I purchased. I think they have these big boxes. I think I've purchased 2 of those. The first one, and I think it was the third one. And one of the reasons why I got the third set, I believe it was it came with some creatures that were more based around Asian mythology. And I thought that these might be useful in my games of Scarlet Heroes, that kind of, the games that draw upon different traditions, different mythological traditions from around the world. And so you might have some more exotic creatures to use, not just trolls and goblins and things like that. But I used these a lot when I was playing Forbidden Psalm, and this was my war band, the Ragged Tigers, Savannah and the Ragged Tigers. Some of you got the Duran Duran reference there. Duran Duran is one of my favorite bands. But this was Savannah, and this was her band of Ragged Tigers. And I really liked these. I think they kind of fit that Morkborg. They're just kind of dark and weird enough to fit that Morkborg style. And of course, these don't have front and back art. And so what I did was I just put a little dot to signify the front. You know, you could also do that if you don't use your black clips. You can also put a little dot on the clip to show the back. But I thought that the dot on the front of the Mini was just fine, and it doesn't annoy me. And I find these really useful. I like the Pathfinder pawns a lot. I know some people do prefer to have a cutout shape, but the thing I like about this standardized shape is that it's really easy to store them. And they all fit in the same shape slot in these jewelry cases. And I think I got all of these either at Hobby Lobby or Joann's. Rest in peace, Joann's. It really sucks. I hate that Joann's has gone under. I know they got bought by Michaels, but I miss Joann's. Joann's was a fantastic store, and it really sucks that those private equity venture capitalist guys just saddled them with debt and shuttered them because they weren't a struggling store. Every time I went in there, they were packed. It was always busy in Joann's up here. But yeah, that really bumps me out. But I do have a few of those clear holders that I use for my warbands. And so I do like these. So that's one warband I was using. I think this was going to be another warband here. I liked the way that these guys looked. And then I know that we also have, you know, in games that have kind of Corvid style creatures, we have these two Corvidians here, or Tengus, I guess. And man, that guy is awesome. But yeah, this was a pretty cool warband here. 3 Corvids, 3 Tengus, and 2 of these badass warrior chicks. I like that a lot. And then we just have a bunch of monsters here. We also have some scattered terrain. So one of the sets you can get is just terrain. And we have different doors and cages and bookshelves. So these are very useful for dungeon setting. So you can very quickly set up, you need to find this shelf here, and so you can put that in a dungeon or something, and you can have a little visual clue of where your objective room is. But we have like some demons and devils. These are pretty cool. And we have just some various beasts. And so I try to put these in groups. I kind of took a look at the art and then put them in groups so I could very quickly, I think I mainly bought these when I was meaning to play 5 Leagues from the Borderlands more, so I could set up the different warbands that would be associated with the different factions in 5 Leagues. And 5 Leagues is just a game that I just haven't spent enough time getting into, and I really need to, because I have a feeling that I am really going to enjoy 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, and I just need to take the time, the dedicated time, to really get into it. And this is one of the main sets that I put together that I was going to use for 5 Leagues. So we have, humans, different types of humans and bandits, and different types of warriors and magic users, and little halflings and goblins. And so I thought that this would be very useful to quickly put together some kind of warband to fight in any kind of solo kind of skirmish game, whether that is Forbidden Psalm, or whether you are playing Rangers of Shadow Deep, or maybe you're playing some Frostgrave. There's a lot of magic users in these sets, and just standard warriors. So you could very easily use these to put together a Frostgrave warband. And then here we have some more creatures, more like bugbears and gnolls and kobolds and things like that. So I do like these, some lizard folk there, some small little gremlins. Those are the little gremlins. And then you do get a lot of these kind of, a whole bunch of ghost warriors or something, or a whole bunch of these priesthood, these cultists. And what these are really good for is, these don't have to represent any one kind of creature. When you have a whole bunch of the same, you could say, okay, all of these are skeletal warriors. And very easily you could see on your table that all of these blue colored standees are going to be one faction or one type of minion. And so that's what I use these for. And I did pull a whole bunch of those out here. And so here we have a whole bunch of the priesthood. So I just kind of use these for, generic cultists. These would be all of my cultists. These guards here, these could be your general guards. These could be general zombies, general skeletons. These terracotta warriors could be one type of enemy. these cavalry brigades. Why is that so hard to say? But very, very useful. So I like the Pathfinder pawns a lot. I enjoy that art. I know some people don't like that real kind of modern fantasy style, but I think the art is good. It's just kind of dark enough where you can use those for some kind of grim dawn or grim dark setting. And then I also have a whole bunch of Pathfinder pawns in my expansion boxes for Escape the Dark Castle. They fit really well, and I kind of grouped these into different groups. So this is all of the different kinds of scattered terrain that you can get in one set. We have different, different traps. We have grease and fire and water and poison. Here we have a whole bunch of things. We have a hatch, different types of floor and marbles on the floor. So kind of, you can set up your traps, your web. We have some gravestones there. Here we have monster tracks, footprints, a campfire, a fire pit. Really, really handy here. This is like statues and mirrors that you can set up for dungeon terrain, dungeon scatter. Different types of crops if you're, outdoors. We have crops, we have stairs, super, super cool. We have a strategy table. It looks like just some debris or a pit or something like that. So I have all of those in there. I just put those together with hair ties, with non-rubberized hair ties, and it keeps them together. We have different tables and rafts and trees, so different things you can decorate your villages with. Here we have a fireplace and a mirror. We have kind of a wall hanging, so we have maybe some paintings on the wall or a window. So you could use your Loke battle mats and have your village maps, and then you could set up a window at one place, so you could draw a line of sight through that window. Very, very easy to use. Portcullis and doors. We have some arrow traps there and a bridge, a ladder, a couch. So all kinds of really useful scatter terrain. I think the scatter terrain is highly desirable, and I do recommend. I can't remember, that was in a smaller set. The scatter terrain didn't come in one of the large sets. And I believe it's, I don't know, dungeon dressing or something like that. But I find that very useful. And then in these final boxes for the Pathfinder pawns, I just have a few of the other minis that I really like kind of grouped together. So here we have a bunch of larger creatures, and I found that these were very useful for things like Morkborg and for Forbidden Psalm. I think I was fighting this guy in one of my Forbidden Psalm games. They don't exactly match, but they look weird enough. They have a lot of tentacles and weird creatures and stuff. And so these are some of the larger enemies. These could be your mini bosses or your bosses. There's a staircase in here for some reason. That needs to go in the scattered terrain box. And here we have some more creatures. These are like natural creatures, wolves and bears and goats and things like that. And these are kind of insects and kind of weird little fairy creatures. So those are there. And then here I have these grouped into kind of major categories. So we have elves here. So all of these are elves that you can use for different classes. Here we have, I believe this is humans with some magic users. Here we have dwarves. So all of our dwarves here with different classes. These are more human magic users. We have some like some rogues and some thieves, maybe some merchants. And here we have more thieves. I believe these were kind of, your different rangers and rogues of different ethnicity, not ethnicities, but different ancestries, I should say. These are more humans. And actually there's some dwarves in here. Maybe these are magic users. What were these? So these look like peasants, or not peasants, but townfolk. Yeah, this is my townfolk. So these I would use for any kind of NPCs when you're going into a town. And I will probably use some of these for a game I recently got, the Guards of Trader's Toll, which I am looking forward to playing. That seems really interesting. I'm going to be using Pathfinder pawns instead of the plastic minis that comes with, and I'll probably sell the plastic minis on. These are some more kind of exotic creatures here. And it looks like some human rogues and different thieves and rangers. And then these are your beast folk. So we have, you know, your raccoon dude and some kind of tiger guy. So if you ever need some beast folk, you can use Pathfinder pawns. So I think that is everything to do with Pathfinder pawns. That's all the stuff I got. Like I said, I bought, you know, 2 or 3 of the large boxes and a couple of the small boxes, and I just went through them and punched out and kept handy the ones that I thought were useful. I'm not using all of them. I put the other ones in storage, the ones I'm not using. But out of all of the ones that I thought were useful, you know, I got a lot, and I have a lot here. And man, you can just store these so easily. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You know, if all of these were plastic minis, it would take up like 10 times as much room as these flat packed, sturdy cardboard standees. Let's real quick take a look at the ones that come in Dungeon Universalis. Now I believe that you can buy these separately. I think they come in packs. And the art in the ones for Dungeon Universalis aren't great. I think they used a lot of stock art and a lot of, you know, art asset packs, and which I have nothing against. But some of the art is better than others, and some of them don't. The art styles can be very different from one group to the next. There isn't a consistent look. The Pathfinder pawns have a very consistent look to that art style, which one of the reasons why I think this looks, one of the reasons why I think they work. You know, they look consistent set up. So these have all kinds of different styles. And I'm not quite sure if I like the art backgrounds. I think I would just prefer to have a blank white background because, you know, if you have this guy standing by a windmill and you see him in a dungeon, that's kind of weird. But of course, we can always suspend our disbelief, which is fine. These I have stored in the DVG chit trays. DVG chit trays. Kind of a tongue twister there. And I find this very useful. I clamp the lids together with 2 hair ties tied together, and they stack up pretty easily. So you can keep those in order. I put them in number order, loosely grouped into factions, so I could use those for when I play Dungeon Universalis. But these, for me, for my games, I kind of stopped using these and started using the Pathfinder pawns, but I think these are also very useful. Now, I also don't really like this kind of clip because it is just so big and bulky. But you can see here, I did write an F for front, so that would be the facing. You know, these kinds of clips here are probably my least favorite. They're so big. I mean, especially on a small mini, they cover up almost half the mini. But they are color coded, so that is nice. And these also don't have any ridges in the middle. And so these won't shred up your cardboard like those clear plastic ones that I showed. But they can be useful because they do have colors, and you can also mark on them if you need to come up with your facing. And then these are the worst. So these were from a Steve Jackson book of cardboard standees. And this is kind of a last-ditch effort. I would not recommend these. These are really flimsy, just cardboard. I guess one nice thing is they do have a back there. They're just a dark silhouette, so you do have facing on these. But the art is really small, and the cardboard is small. It's really low quality. But I think for a while, this was kind of the only thing that was available. And so these are pretty old. And as you can see, some of them really stand out like a sore thumb. Like this guy looks like he's from like the Dungeons and Dragons Saturday morning cartoon. And so the art style is very, very different. And I think a lot of these just use those kind of clip art or art asset packs. But so these are from Steve Jackson Games, one of their books of minis. And then we took a look at the cardboard standees from Dungeon Universalis. And then finally, we've taken a look at these before. And these are the cardboard standees from League of Dungeoneers. And I have these organized into their major groups within the factions of League of Dungeoneers, and these are photo holders. This is an album or a case to hold photos. So I also keep of course, my standee there, but I keep these out just so I can always quickly grab these. These are always on the shelf next to my table. But we have undead 2, dark elves, magic creatures, bandits, reptiles, greenskins, different quest creatures. We have beasts, large beasts. What is that? Human beasts. So like beast men, that kind of thing. Different types of heroes, mercenaries, doors. And then in this one here, I keep, just pieces that we were using. But I also, when I took a look at the plastic replacements for these, because League of Dungeoneers, they did introduce some of those plastic flat minis, and these are really cool too. I like those a lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to completely replace my cardboard with the plastic. I haven't decided yet. I think I do prefer the cardboard, but I find these are really cool. These have a great art style. And if you wanted to start playing, if you wanted to put together your own DIY version of Warhammer Quest or something like that, you could get these. I think Michael is going to be selling these separately, or will have these available in future campaigns. He really should sell these. I think he could make quite a bit of money just selling his standees, either the plastic or the cardboard ones. But these have great art. They're uniform. They have a cutout shape. They have front and back. These are really, really high quality minis. So we have a dire wolf, we have different types of skeletons. So I tried to group these together in different factions, but I love all the skeletal warriors. Those are very cool. We have box 2 here of various undead, maybe some larger, some ghosts, and different types of mummies and zombies and larger skeletal warriors there. Let's take a look here at the various heroes. So we have all kinds of different heroes. We have rangers and alchemists and wizards and warriors, male and female representation, dwarves. So yeah, these are fantastic. These are some of the highest quality cardboard standees that I know of. They're very, very sturdy. They're not quite as sturdy as those first ones we looked at. Those first ones we looked at feel really robust. These have a little bit of a bend to them, but they're still pretty high quality. And let's take a look at the large beasts here. So these are larger beasts. Again, if you had all of these in 3D plastic or metal minis, it would take up a lot of space. And here you can just kind of throw them all in. And since they're not painted, you don't have to worry about bumping them around and chipping the paint or breaking the plastic or bending the metal. So just for me, these just make a lot of sense. These have, the larger ones have a little bit of a wiggle to them. So like I said, not as hard pressed as those Wanderers Emporium ones. But still, I'm not afraid that these are going to get ruined. Now, for some of the bigger plastic minis, when it comes to holding them, what I do, or standing them up, is I will actually put 2 clips, one on each side, just so you have a little more of a base so they can stand on. Because if you only use one, sometimes that is a little wobbly. Some of the other styles, they do come with these larger clips, but again, I often find that these have these ridges and it just tears up the cardboard when you put it. Like, I don't want to stick this in. When I stick this in, whoops, there goes that behind the table. Never to be seen again, into the black hole. And these are so hard. The plastic is hard, and it's really hard to bend these out to get these in without damaging the cardboard. So that's why I don't like those hard, clear plastic, These kinds here, you can very easily bend those and it grabs them with no issue whatsoever. And these don't fall off. These are really good. These ones that I got on Etsy and were from inspired by the Legends of Andor. Very good. Those are probably, those are my favorite, or the Dungeon Universalis ones. Probably the Dungeon, or not, yeah, the Dungeon Crusade ones. These do have a hole in the center, and so sometimes smaller minis can actually push all the way through. So I guess that's one of the drawbacks of these kinds, and so I guess that's why I do prefer these smaller cardboard clips there to hold your standees. But yeah, so I thought we'd just take a video and talk about cardboard standees because I love them so much and I talk about them a lot, and I find them very, very useful for all kinds of different skirmish games. They're very quick to set up, to find, to store. They already come painted. They come ready to use. And so for me, I can just get to my games faster without having to worry about a whole different kind of subset hobby that is plastered on top of a hobby that I already spent a lot of time in. And I don't have to buy paint, I don't have to buy paint brushes. They're just, for me, cardboard standees are the perfect substitute for 3D miniatures, and that's why I love them so much. So yeah, let me know if you guys like this kind of stuff, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.